Okay, so we are recording the meeting. Let's do the roll call.
All righty. Brandy, absent. Hassan.
Here.
David Balin. Did he make it in yet or no? I can't.
Not yet. I think he's dialing.
All right, Jason. Jason, there you are. I see you. I don't hear you.
Here.
All right, Miran.
Here.
Becky's absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori.
Here.
Assad.
Here.
Gabriel, I'm here. Isam.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Public comments. And I have one attendee. I'm assuming this is total one phone on listener, but 676, is that David Balin at the end? Oh, okay. Let me first promote him.
Am I here?
David. Somebody has the audio on the computer and the phone on. Okay, so he hung up. David, hopefully you have an audio on the computer now. Unmute.
He
Okay.
disappeared again.
I just want to go on and notice that I did hear my name at the roll call, but it wasn't picking it up. So.
All right, you're here.
David is at the meeting. We are at a public comment period. There's no one in attendance and no hand is raised. And so we do not have any public comment. Just a quick update. I thought for David to give us an update on the emerging expenditure where it stands. So David, give us a quick 5-minute update.
Absolutely. So first off, I'd like to thank Jason Hector. He went with me yesterday. We went to Target. We acquired about a little over $500 in goods. We couldn't get any more because the shopping carts were too full. Jason did tell me today that we can still utilize the funds for the rest of it. So we're going to move forward with that. Today, I was honored that Isam as well as Miran had offered to come out to the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission.
I'm sorry, I did what, David?
They came out to the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission.
I did?
Pantry.
Ron.
You mean Assad and Mihran?
Oh. I'm not here. Assad, you're still here. Came out to the food pantry and we were there assisting. So we're good.
Great.
Sorry. So we still have about, Jason, how much more money do we have to spend? About $450?
Yeah, we spent $560 approximately, so we have another 400 and.
I have 2 questions. Is there a reason you were not able to do it with stores in Porter Ranch the way we kind of set in the plan?
We don't really, the other store was Walmart and they didn't really have the items that we needed at the time. So we went to the next best bet. I mean, we can use the rest of the funds and go to Walmart. One of the things that we're going to be acquiring, the next purchase will be greens, beans, and pastas.
And Ralph's would not have it?
Ralph's is very slim and none. It's very difficult with Ralph's. If we wanted to do that, we would have to make a purchase. I did speak with Tim. I spoke with Sam. I also spoke with Alex. They're all 3 managers there. It's just very hit and miss on what they're getting out of the warehouse.
Okay, just wanted to ask. And second, were you able to use bags from Porter Ranch
We
bags?
don't have any bags.
Really?
Correct.
No bags.
Gabe, what happened to our bags?
I guess we're out.
But we,
Don't recall
I'm not
seeing
sure when
it.
we use them. What happened, Laura?
I said, I don't recall seeing any bags ever.
we used them at the preparedness fair, I think, last time.
It was
We used,
before my time.
We used some, Lori, you remember?
but something,
No?
Lori, if you see them, you'll remember they're white, thin bags and just say
It
PRNC.
says Porter Ranch on it, yeah.
I don't recall seeing one, actually.
Okay,
It might have been sold out, gone.
all right.
So we are getting a lot of exposure. The community knows that we did the outreach. I put it on Facebook. I haven't sent it over to you. Been really busy with everything else, but I will send you both days of the events that we went out and was doing our job with the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission.
You know,
And they're
David, Lori has the ability to post it as Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. That's really how it should be posted on Facebook, not from an individual, if you don't mind.
No, but it came from me, but it was as a post, it was as of Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. So I'll forward it to Lori.
All right, anybody has any comment, question today?
Yeah, one more thing. If any other members are interested in participating, please reach out to me like the other members did.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. Okay. Let me,
Any questions from anybody else? Are we good or?
We're good.
So one quick question. So the rest of the items, are you taking it to the same place or a different charity?
On the motion, it was to the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission.
I
right.
see.
they gave us a needs list here. See, we should share it.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
well, thank
Thanks.
you guys for taking care of it.
And this could have been, I appreciate that, but we should have brought this up at the discussion.
Brought what up?
Oh, if we were going to go to any other, any other outreach.
We can't do that because the application was for the mission.
No, I get that, but I was answering his question.
Yeah, but again, the discussion would have been after the application was submitted because the application went in before the meeting, so
Correct.
it would not make a difference anyway.
I had forgotten it was for one specific place, but if need to, we can hopefully, reach out to other folks and contribute.
From here on, it is a board decision. So somebody wants to bring that to the board for a vote or anything else, that's always open.
Okay.
All right. Are we good with this?
Crystal,
Sounds good.
good, perfect.
Okay, I don't see any hands, so let me move on. Next item, item 6, bylaws. I want to make a suggestion for approach and get a feel from you on it. I want to suggest that we vote on a article by article. So we go through Article 1, vote on it. If the changes are in it are good, we move, whatever we vote on it, we move to the next article. And whatever we approve, the changes in those articles will be submitted. Whatever we don't approve, the articles in that, those section, the changes in those articles would not be submitted. At the end, we would make sure if in case there are conflicting changes between what we kept and what we changed in different articles, we will clean that up. But to keep things moving and feel like we're accomplishing something, are we good with that approach?
Mhm.
So I'm going to open for discussion.
I agree with it.
Okay.
I have one problem with it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Jason, go ahead.
We should have done this last meeting.
Right?
Well,
We're
I
good,
think-
go ahead.
maybe can we maybe go back to what we talked about last time? Kind of go backwards.
I'm gonna go back to Article 1 and vote article by article.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, we just refresh our memory a little bit about what we agreed upon for this and talked about.
What we agreed upon has been made into the changes that is in the attachment.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so
New attachment.
Article 1 has no changes, so I assume no vote needed on that.
Right.
Article 2. If you look at the document that we had in there, there was one edit to section 3E. We established procedure to communicate, instead of establish procedure to communicate, to actually communicate. Any discussion on that article?
No.
Okay, call the vote.
All right. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran,
Yes.
Becky, absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes.
and Article 2 passes.
Okay, Article 3 has no changes, so I'm assuming we leave it as is and move on. Article 4. Article 4 has the changes that we have in here. This is what we discussed in the past, and if you have not read it before this meeting, take a quick scan of it, and I'm gonna hold my breath a little bit and then ask for a call for a discussion. Anybody wants to comment on this? All right, call the vote.
All right. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran,
Yes.
Becky, absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam.
Yes.
All right, Article 4 passes.
Okay, Article 5, Governing Board. What we did is we made actually quite a few changes here, but again, this is something that we all went through. But still, give it a quick look. If you recall anything that was of concern to you, again, I made the changes based on previous discussions, but it's important that you validate that for yourself first. So at least on section 3 and section 4, anything that you want to comment on?
Just a
David, Jason.
On the simple majority, the section 3 last sentence, simple majority vote by the board members present and eligible to vote, including abstentions. That's kind of throwing me off there. Abstentions would not be eligible to vote, right?
No, abstention is someone who chooses not to vote.
Right. I'm trying to understand why that including abstentions part, what that does. What's the meaning of having that?
Okay, I was hoping we're past that issue, but what this is, it says if there are 8 people in the room and 5 decide to abstain, that leaves 3 people that are voting. As it stands now, 2 of those 3 will pass the motion. Because abstentions, it says right now, not including abstention. So you don't count abstention as even being present for that vote, even though they're counting towards the quorum. But they stay in the room and decide, I want to abstain. Then what is left, those that are not abstaining, basically can decide where the motion goes. What this does, it says those that are in the room that are eligible to vote and want to be part of, being counted as part of the quorum in the room, need to make a decision. If they don't want to vote, then they're, in essence, they're not supporting that motion. So if you have 8 in the room, and it would require 5 yes votes for it to pass. If more than 3 decide to abstain, that motion does not pass because it only has the support of 4 of the 8 in the room, maybe, at most. And so it requires us as board members to, if a motion needs to pass a board, it needs to receive an affirmative vote of the majority in the room that are eligible to vote. And that's the intent of this. Some NCs have it this way, some NCs have it the other way. Francis, you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I was wondering when you're voting, do you want to make a motion and a second, or can we just overrule that?
Right now, we're just, well, I am assuming that at the end of this, we're going to have a motion to ratify all the votes that we did on all the sections that we approved, and that would be one motion.
Wonderful.
Unless people feel, you know what, we should
Alrighty.
do a motion on each article. It's your call either way. What do you guys want?
No, this is good approach. Go with it. Go with it.
We'll vote at the end.
Yeah.
The only thing is, what about recusals? So you're not addressing recusals in this.
Well, see, here's the thing. Recusal, you get out of the room.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're not present, so you don't count towards the quorum.
Right.
And therefore, you're not voting. So it doesn't, that becomes the eligibility question. Because if you recuse yourself because you feel you should not vote, that's your choice, and you get out of the room. And at that point, if those 4 out of, or 5 out of those 8 decided to recuse themselves, there's no quorum and you can't vote anyway. But that's the essence of this. If
I think the problem is just if people abstain when they really shouldn't. I mean, abstentions are typically like, what is the reason for abstention? And then are you abstaining for,
But whatever the reason is, someone who abstains is someone who is not voting yes on this motion, is not supporting the motion. That's all.
I'm okay with it. I just wanted to understand it. And I think that it might be good to include recusals, how recusals are factored in.
But it says members present. So if you recuse
Oh, okay.
yourself,
I got you.
then you're not
Okay.
present.
All right, thank you.
Okay. On section 4, this is the term limit question. Anything on that? Okay. 5A, it's about how we inform, how we fill vacancies. We are clarifying things and putting things in place about, how we inform, that we will ensure the matter is placed on the agenda for the next board meeting after the submittal deadline. If one stakeholder files an application, we basically, again, put in detail, remove any ambiguity about how we're supposed to do this. And so if there's any detail in here that jumps at you as not something we do, then please let me know. The bulk of the additions is about how do we vote? If we don't get someone, do we do it again? If we don't do it again and we still don't have a vote, where do we stop? All that is the detail of these additions so that we kind of make it uniform. Okay.
Works.
All right. Section 7, absences. We've had a lot of discussion about that. There was a requested change from the last time we discussed this item, and you'll see it in this here. For example, we said it happens basically in the between the second and the third line, but it says a board member is deemed absent from a specific meeting if he or she is present for less than 50% of that meeting duration from the time the meeting is called to order to the time it is agendized to be adjourned or actually adjourned, whichever takes place earlier. This was the request that was asked last time.
Mhm.
Okay. And the two criteria are still the same, A and B. We just, you know, made them into bullets so it's clear, not buried in the text. That's all.
Sam,
Yes,
we're still on Article 5, correct?
correct.
So I was looking at the city clerk's recommendations for Section 5, but for Article 5, and they were recommending that Article 5, Section 4, with regards to staggered seating, that it delineates who is going to be which staggered, and which seats are considered staggered, and the other ones are, you know, the other group that's not going to be at the same time as the election.
I'm sorry, say that again.
City clerk, they gave me notes. They said recommended that NC lists the staggered seats since it has been established already. Also make reference to elections being held in even years. It has now changed to odd years.
I changed
So,
that already. Did I? It is still here?
um,
Yeah. Alternate odd years. Got it.
yeah, perfect. And then in the attachment, indicate which one will be doing.
But see, here's the thing, Freddie, we don't have the kind of breakdown of membership that other NCs have. We have only one at-large member, and the rest we're all the same members. So there's no way to delineate who's in, you know, who are the 5 seats that get elected this year and who are the other 6 that get elected the 2 years later.
Yeah, and I think that's the confusion that the city clerk wanted me to state during this part, to clarify as to maybe in the attachment it be separated as to at-large group A, at-large group B will be, you know, such and such election, and then the second one would.
There's no name for the seat, so I'm not sure I understand how we would be able to do that other than saying we are alternating 5 and 6. So, and each one is elected for 4 years. Doesn't that provide the definition?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get, that's the only notes they gave me with regards to that section, the
I
article.
mean, you know, unless we simply number the seats 1 to 11 and people would be defined by the number of that seat for what it's worth, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Or Isam, what we could do is in the attachment, we add a clarification that there is seats in the first 2 years and there's seats in the other 2 years without naming which one. You just add a footnote. After where you say 10 and 1, we just say that, you know, 5 in one election and the other 6 in the other election. Just a suggestion.
So we'll do it in the attachment B. Okay, we can do it there. Is that?
Yeah, in the attachment.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll keep. Although, you know, I got to tell you, this even versus odd, I would like to actually not specify that and simply state as set by city, because who knows, 10 years from now, the city may change it back to even, and it'll confuse.
Exactly. Exactly.
So maybe be elected during alternate 2-year periods.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could work either. That can work as well.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I stated what the city clerk told me to state.
And you know,
yeah,
at the end of the day, we're going to submit these and they're going to be reviewed, and whatever whether the city attorney or Gunn or city clerk says, this needs to be changed, we'll hear something.
For sure.
Quick
Yes.
Freddie, could you have sent that over to ESOM so we could have at least looked at that ahead of time?
Yeah, no, that was a recent team meeting that we just had talking about bylaws for all NCs, and that was one of the notes that was given to me to clarify.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll email it too.
Okay, no problem. Let me continue to end of 7. Anything on 7? This is regarding the absentees. Now, section 8, we had a lot of discussion about this. This is about the censure, and the next one is about removal. So, and I know we have different feelings about this. Let me just tell you the reason I would ask that you consider this is I recognize that Bonk has other language that they want people to use. From my perspective, as a body, I think if this is how we would like it to be, we submit it this way. If Bonk and the city want to change it to the standard language, they certainly can do that. It's within their authority, obviously. But if they don't get to that point or they're not doing it that way, if this is the language that we would like to have, let us have our opinion. So I'm suggesting there's no point in voting on the Bonk language because it's the standard. If they're going to put it in, it doesn't matter what we think of it. The question here is if we like what we see here and we'd like to make some changes to this or whatever it is, without obviously spending a lot of time if we don't have to. But if we like this, let's vote on it. And if it's what we would like to submit, let's submit it. And if they want to change it, certainly they can change it. And none of us can change that. Yes, Jason.
Has Bonk already approved the language yet, Freddie?
Say it one more time.
Has Bonk already approved the language for censure yet?
Yeah, censure and removal policies have been approved. They should be on the Empower LA page under commission and existing policies on the website. I will attach them in the email just so you guys can get clarification, but they're also on the website.
But again,
They were approved. Yeah.
I just want to hear what his opinion is, that's all. And I wanted an update. So what is your recommendation with respect to what Bonk's approved and what ESOM's saying?
For censure for section 8 and section 9?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you guys can move forward with making those changes. But then when it's being reviewed, we can consult later as to how it will be adapted because we don't have the standard language that would apply to all NCs. So currently, you're able to move forward with that. It's just later on, we're going to be notifying all NCs that we're going to be making that change, but it's going to be in accordance to the policies that were approved by Bonk back in February and March, or back in February, as to censure and removal.
Okay.
Sounds like we're good.
So there's a lot of detail here on the censure, and I think, I don't know if Bonk includes that. I've read them a little while back. It would be unfortunate if they don't include the city attorney consultation and actually city attorney having a final decision on that procedure. I think that's what I have in here. It's important. You know, you can get a lot of people on NCs who have, you know, certain perspective as to what deserves a censure and what doesn't deserve a censure. And there needs to be an unemotional vote, final deciding on this. And that's why I think the city attorney's office should be the final decider on it. But again, that's the proposed language in here. And I'd like to know if there are changes that anybody wants to see in there. And for what it's worth, the removal is simply saying, look, if in one term you get 2 censures, you're out. So really the focus is on the censure procedure.
I think it looks good. I think we should move forward on it.
I agree.
And then section 11 is 10. There's nothing in there. Section 11, just we just took out 2 phrases in that section and changed the notice to at least 30 days prior to any election. So a prospective board member shall be given a notice of at least 30 days prior to any election for purpose of soliciting stakeholder support. All right, so if no further discussion, I'd like to get a vote on Article 5.
All righty, let's do it. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran,
Ron needs to unmute.
Miran.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Becky is absent. David Lasher is absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes,
perfect. Article 5 passes.
thank you. Article 6 is the one we discussed last time. And you'll notice in the version that I sent out, and actually let me, for what it's worth, I don't know why I haven't done that already. Let me stop share for a second. Let me do the share now. So what I did on Article 6 per our discussion last time, we basically simply said that the officers are president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, period. No board member may serve in more than one officer position, with the exception of an officer may also serve as the second signer and or bank holder. The PRNC may also elect to select an alternate signer, which is what it was before. But basically, it takes the second signer out of the executive officer and simply makes it an appointment and a decision just like the second card holder or the alternate signer. And that's per the discussion of last time. And that also strikes out section 2, paragraph D. Since we're talking about the second signer, we took that out. And, you know, we don't have treasurer 1 and 2, so we had just under C, you see the edit. The treasurer shall maintain the records of the PNC financials and implement the proper financial procedures as prescribed by the office of the city clerk. So we don't do book of accounts, you know, we just follow the procedure of the city clerk. And section 3 is the same issue of the abstentions as a vote on that, filling that position, that it needs to be for the majority present and eligible to vote. And it says at the first meeting following, you know, we say following the election of the board it used to be following the election every 2 years thereafter. But what happened to us in the stagger is that we ended up with a 3-year period where we had to do something in the middle of it. So we changed it to at the first meeting following an election of the board. Yes, Jason.
Is there an area where we're going to have a description for the duties of the second signer? I know we're removing it here. because it's not an executive position, but should we have a description of what the duty is of the second signer somewhere here?
You know, the question is, how much do you put in bylaws versus not? You know, we certainly could, but because it is not it's sort of left to the individual board that is sitting to kind of make that appointment and they make those responsibilities. It would be better for the bylaws not to butt into that decision on a partial basis, you know. So we either define it fully and it becomes sort of set in bylaws, or we take it out and leave it for the board to decide what to do with that. It's up to us.
Well, when we do the administrative packet, the second signer is, I believe, part of that packet, and maybe Freddie can make a suggestion here. But I think that we do need to define what a second signer means, because you don't want to leave that ambiguous. They don't have to be an executive board member, but I don't know, what do you, I'd like to hear what Freddie has to say on that.
I do agree with Isam that anything you put in your bylaws will be, you know, kind of solidified for the next 2 years until it opens up again for changes. Other neighborhood councils have used standing rules or have referenced maybe the city clerk's guidance for further clarification or definition of positions. Because second signer is something that is defined by the city clerk.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
It would be best to leave it as general as possible, or
So we could leave it out because the city clerk already provides the guidance on what that means.
Exactly. And in fact, in the email I just sent to the PRNC email, so everyone would get it right now.
Yeah.
I've included the link, the last link for financial officer information, which is the neighborhood council funding program, and for financial officers of a second signer. That would be on page 9 of that document, which delineates what its responsibilities are. But again, it's under the city clerk's funding policy and guidelines document.
And that's really the thing. I mean,
Page 9.
the city clerk brought up that concept and basically opened it for people. So boards are not going to be able to define it as they wish because it's defined by the city.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it on that. The section 4 was the officer term, shall serve 2-year terms. We already defined it somewhere else, so there's no reason for it to be here, and that's basically it.
So are we going to pull that paragraph out that there was some, remember the one that we had changes on that the city clerk was recommending? Are we going to pull that out and vote on everything but that, or what is your?
Which one?
The paragraph that the city clerk was saying, section 4, article 5, section 4.
No, we said we're going to put it in as a clarification in the attachment under the listing of the board members.
Okay, got it.
We'll vote on that there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that.
Can I add one thing though?
Yeah.
Can you scroll down a little bit, or there, section 4, it says officer terms.
Oh, yes, here? Yes.
Yeah. Even though you might be taking away the definition of officer terms, that section of officer terms still has to be there. You could state intentionally left blank if there are no term limits for any of the officers.
Well, and okay, I'll do that now. Then what I meant to say was the officer term is defined in another place in the bylaws, but
then that would be perfect. Then in officer terms, you can just refer to that C article,
okay,
whatever, and section whatever.
Okay, and I need to make sure I can go back to it. Okay, let me just, all right.
I should have included in the email, which I will do right now, the bylaw table of contents policy by the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners.
No worries. Let me do this. Bear with me 1 second.
It's Article 10. I don't see it.
Does this work? And the intent of this is, again, just in case the elections get staggered or changed from the 2-year term, we're trying not to marry it to the 2-year concept. So we marry it to elections. So officer terms, officers shall serve the full period between 2 consecutive board elections.
Just take the J out behind section. See, you have a little J there. Section 4. See where it says section?
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Sounds good?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So with that, if there's no more discussion, can I have a vote on on Article 6?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Brandy's absent. Hassan.
Yes.
David Balin.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Miran.
Yes.
Becky's absent. David Lasher's absent. Lori.
Yes.
Assad.
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam.
Yes.
And Article 6 passes.
All right, thank you. Let me go to Article 7. We discussed it also a little bit last time. So you changed that I made based on the discussion. You will see it's added, all standing committees shall be chaired by a member of the board selected by the president of the board and approved by a majority vote of the board. Does that satisfy the comment from last time?
I think so.
Yes.
Sounds good, yes.
Okay, and then after that, basically it's about, clarifying the term of the committee, which is again between elections. Whenever there is a change of board by an election, all the officer term ends and all committee appointments end, and it's a new election, which means there might be a new set of executive officers who will make a new selection of committees, and those committees will serve till the next election. And that way we put it in a defined manner. Does that make sense?
Jason.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't see everybody tiled, so I'm trying to, between sharing the screen and then, here, I'll try to do it this way so I can see everybody. Okay, somebody wants to comment on it? Okay, I think I see everybody.
It sounds good. I think we discussed that time. What happens, I think that was one of my questions. If
Now, here's the other issue that was on there that we did not get to a final, I didn't think that we got a final consensus on, which is the issue of what constitutes a yes vote from a committee to bring a motion to the board, to bring a recommendation to the board as to whether it is as proposed here, which is a majority of the board members on the committee, or is it all membership of the committee, which includes an unlimited number of stakeholders? That's on the floor for anybody who wants to discuss that.
Well, what is the protocol that we're supposed to follow with stakeholders' votes and how they count? Or is it up to us to decide?
I'll say it this way. I think the intent of it is for stakeholders on a committee. The idea of a committee is to sort of be the stepping stone between what stakeholder discussions want to have and then up to the board for a final decision. I think it is reasonable to say, in my opinion, that the stakeholders, they got to be able to convince at least 2 board members that are on that committee of an idea, of a recommendation, and ask them to support that elevation to the board. The intent is to have that stepping stone to be real, as opposed to, as you well know, you can have stakeholders that have very different opinion of the majority of the board or a majority of the committee. And that recommendation, it can go up to the board, but it's not going to go anywhere. And so I think to put a burden on the stakeholder to convince 2 board members before something goes to a full board vote, I don't think it's an unreasonable burden, but that's just my opinion.
No, and Isam, I second on that this way we could filter, like you said, the ideas or the concepts, so that by the time it comes to us, at least the 2 or 3 members can mold it in a way and present it to the whole board. If we cannot get at least 2 board members to agree on it, then it shouldn't be really coming to the board. And if the stakeholders really feel this about it, then they could come and make a general comment.
That's
But,
true.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. What I'm trying to ascertain is the perspective of the stakeholder and their feeling of voting, if they have a say, if they have a vote. And we have to educate our stakeholders and let them know that how the procedure works, right? So your vote is going to count or it's not going to count, or what is the, if we're going to tell, and it's not necessarily 2 board members, because you might have a committee that only has, 1 board member or 2 board members. So there's some other elements there that we need to understand. And I'm concerned about the stakeholder perspective, how, it's difficult to get stakeholders on committees, and, they want to feel like they have a vote, and they do a lot of work on committees. So how does their vote not count if they can't convince a board member? Is that what we're saying here?
First, let me suggest, I think a committee should not have less than 3 board members, in my opinion, because, you want to have a little, critical mass on a committee action to bring it up to a board. If it's only 1 board member, then, it's not a successful transition, in my opinion. So it's always good to have 3 members on the committee. And if you coach this as whether someone's vote counts or doesn't count, obviously that's set up to fail on start. The question is, what we're saying is, we go down to the committee level and we'll have a lengthy discussion with stakeholders and planning, and we're asking them to get the support of 2 board members to bring it up. Clearly they count in their effort to convince 2 board members to bring a matter up to the full board. So it doesn't negate their role, but if we just say it as, I get 1 vote and you get 1 vote, and so my vote doesn't count, then then it's gonna look like we knocked him out. And so it really depends on how the board sees this matter. And it's my suggestion, because I am fearful of runaway groups that, you know, it's just going to become a back and forth volley between the board and those stakeholders on a committee that are not thinking through the board process.
Well, there's a solution to that. What I brought up last time is we could ask that there be, if we have, that the number of stakeholders on a committee cannot exceed the number of board members. So
My understanding is the rules of the city do not allow us to limit stakeholder participation in committees. If I'm wrong,
well, Freddie, I think last time said that we could put something in there that
So,
yeah. Go
um,
ahead.
okay, so since the last meeting, I had an in-depth discussion on bylaws with my director. That's why I got a little bit more clarity and got more notes from the city clerk and everything. The only limitation our policy has for neighborhood councils is how many board members there can be in a committee, because you don't want it to be a majority of quorum. If there is a majority of quorum in a committee, it would have to be labeled as a joint board committee meeting, because that would be that's the policy that city clerk gave me on that one. As to limitation of stakeholders onto a committee, there is no restrictions that the department or that the city clerk imposes on neighborhood councils to have. That is up to the neighborhood council to determine how many they would like to have in a committee.
so let me ask you, which would be a more damaging message? To say that on this committee of 3 board members, there can only be 2 stakeholders. So now we got to pick 2 stakeholders to be voting members, and other stakeholders who want to come to the meeting and participate in the discussion, they don't get to vote? And, or is it less damaging to say, come in and help us make a decision that we can take to the board, and let's formulate that decision together and leave it open for stakeholders? To me, the latter is more palatable to stakeholders than the former, but again, just my opinion.
Can I comment on that?
Go ahead.
So, you know, we don't have an overabundance of stakeholders on our committee. I believe, you know, we have maybe, I don't know about everyone's committees, but typically there is a balance between, and I think that
we'll start with comment on his item.
Somebody needs to mute their something.
I think that if we limit the amount of stakeholders to 3, then that would strike a balance between our ability to have 3 board members, 3 stakeholders, and then the stakeholders could have a vote. And
Now, who selects the stakeholders?
well, that's in the bylaws, the way we decide on that in the bylaws.
That would be section 3.
Not only that, Jason, the whole idea of the committee to get as many members of the stakeholder involved. The voting, and I know it's an important issue, but think of it the same as in a corporation. There is a lot of stakeholders and you know, stockholders that they don't vote. So we cannot limit the stakeholders to 3. We want as many, like in my safety committee, there is 3 of us, but we would like to have at least 100 stakeholders in the committee because of the work we do.
Then can we clarify for stakeholders so they know how the voting works? I think we just need to be upfront. And so I know when I run a committee how to deal with the voting, because it's a little bit confusing right now.
So this statement is not clear enough. The committee motion is deemed to pass if it receives a yes vote from the majority of the board members serving on the committee and voting, including abstentions. That doesn't explain it?
The majority of the board members
Serving on the committee and voting.
So I'm just confused on the voting of the stakeholders. That's what's confusing to me, because it's not specified there. I don't understand if their vote counts or their vote doesn't count. I know what you're saying, that I agree with the premise of what you're saying, that we do need to convince board members, the board members bring it to the full board, but I don't see the clarity. If I'm a stakeholder coming into a committee, I should be able to look into the bylaws and see what my role is in terms of voting. That's my only.
And again, the way this is, you have a role in all the discussions and all the planning. You do not have a voting role. That's as a stakeholder. That's
That
what
should be
this says.
specified in here. That should be clear, because it's not clear to me. I don't see where it explains that, you know. These are lay people coming off the street. They're going to read if they want to read the bylaws and understand what their role is as a stakeholder, they should have some clarity and understanding that they're limited in you know, that they can participate in, like you said, in the discussion. But so that's my comment.
All right. We can certainly add that. Assad wants to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, Jason, look at it this way. Stakeholders attend our general meeting. They don't get to vote on anything, but they have the floor to speak.
Yeah.
The committee is like a miniature of the general board meeting. So you have three of us trying to listen and get it. So
I get it. I'm with you, but I think that it should be specified so that stakeholders don't, because a stakeholder's perception, in my experience, is that they get a vote. When we have stakeholders come, they may not even be on the committee, but they're raising their hand and they're voting. So I think it just, you know, makes sense to clarify, so it's, you know, we can say, no, I'm sorry, and we'll explain to them that, you know, in order to, like what you're saying, we'll explain it, but I think that it should be here for the benefit of our stakeholders. You got to set the expectation for them.
So I'm going to agree with Jason. You know, it's important for our stakeholders to have a vote, even if it's at just a committee level. And I think that if we were to tell the stakeholders that they're, and I'll go with all the committees I've ever been on through the neighborhood council, that when we take a vote, I don't think anybody's ever gone against, because the reason why you're on the committee is because you agree with everything that you're working for. So I think it's important that we do allow our stakeholders to have a vote at a committee level.
Okay. You know what? I mean, look, I don't want to make this a big contentious issue. I'll take that statement out without objection.
I second on that.
All right. I will take this out.
Okay, so we're on section 1, last part. Let's see.
That last sentence simply comes off.
Okay.
Okay. I'll save it. Ah, shoot. Should have done save as. Okay. All right. With that, committee creation authorization, refer to sections 1 and 2 above. The board shall create a system for the election, selection, or appointment of stakeholders to committees, subcommittees, and or ad hoc committees. That's out now because it's open. Right?
Right.
Do we need to add a list of the standing committees to our bylaws? Because I know that's one of the suggestions that the city has. Freddie?
Some NCs have listed their standing committees in their bylaws and others have not. If you want to add your standing committees in your bylaws, just know that then you are tying yourself to having those committees meeting at the requirements that you have listed in your bylaws.
Take a look what I have as the first sentence under this. It says, at the first meeting following a board election, the board shall vote on a list of standing committees to be formed.
Got it.
Every board decides what it wants.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, I think we've covered all of Article 7. If there's no further discussion, can we have a vote on Article 7 changes?
Sure. Brandy, absent. Hassan? Hassan?
Yes, sorry.
David Balin?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Miran? Disappeared. Becky is absent. David Lasher is absent. Lori?
Yes.
Assad?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
And section 7 passes.
Where did Miran go?
I have no idea.
Okay, Francis, please make note of it. Okay, Article 8.
I asked him earlier, and I think he said he was having issues
Oh,
saying,
he has another meeting. He's on a committee, on another committee. That's why.
Okay. Article 8 meetings. This is an edit here. It talks about just the act, the Brown Act. And we say, meetings of the board shall be held at least once per month. However, we know what happens sometimes. We cancel it or something. So with the understanding that the board may skip one monthly meeting in any 12 consecutive months. Should we say up to 2 meetings? What do you want?
Or you could say excluding like disaster or something, like because of the fire, we couldn't have one. So that doesn't count towards the one. Or because of the...
Remember, this is not just about, you can still have a special meeting. That would count.
You just can't miss the whole month.
Right. It's about whether or not having any meeting in the month.
Right. I mean...
Yeah, but there could be any extenuating circumstances, right? Like you were saying, the fire or an earthquake or.
So what do you want it to say?
Well, why do we leave it out? Let us not restrict us. So
my point is, it didn't even allow us before.
Exactly. So you just exclude the natural disasters or city emergencies.
Yeah, but
this way it gives you at least 2-3 months rather than 1 month.
But sometimes we decide in December we're not going to hold a meeting.
Right. So that's but this way you get an automatic exclusion if a natural disaster or emergency happens. It doesn't count against you that, let's say, 2-3 months you don't have a meeting.
Do you think in a case of emergency, anybody cares what our bylaws say?
Well, it's just a suggestion.
So what should I say? Tell me where to insert it. Yes, Balin.
no, I care what they say.
Yeah, sure you do. All right. So should we say shall be held at least once per month, excluding emergencies, with the understanding that the board may skip one monthly meeting in any 12 consecutive months?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
why do we use the word shall? Because that restricts us. If we say, the board typically meets or may, customarily meets on a monthly basis, then that leaves it open for us if an emergency comes to be able to, using the word shall restricts us.
But it's important, Jason, because you don't want also a board that just comes and says, you know what? We're not going to meet over the next 4 months. It's not right for the community.
Vacation.
Does Freddie have any suggestion here, Freddie?
For the meeting time and place, any restrictions you want to impose, that will be on the NC board to decide how they would want to have that done. I'm right now looking at my emails to see comments regarding this article right now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. So you could say anything and then up to...
Generally speaking, I do agree the statement should not be too restrictive because, things happen and we may skip one meeting, or God forbid something big happens, it may be a couple of meetings per year. So
Right.
there has to be a leadway there.
Well, here's what I'm suggesting we say. Meetings of the board shall be held at least once per month, excluding emergencies, with the understanding that the board may skip one monthly meeting in any 12 consecutive months. I think we need to strike a balance between recognizing that emergencies are ones where we can't have meetings because we have other things to worry about, and we may choose to skip a month because of a big holiday season or whatever. But we also have to balance it with the idea that if you get a board that's elected to do its job, it should be asked to do its job. And so that's the balance that I'm suggesting we vote on.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can,
section 2.
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Section 2, agenda setting. President of the board shall plan the agenda in full compliance with the board act, with the Brown Act, and I've added with input from all board members. Section 3, to clarify it, it's not submitted to the department, but rather to the city's early notification system, ENS. That's the submittal section.
FYI, I just found the NC bylaw template. I'm going to be emailing it to the whole board right now.
Okay, but just to be clear, as a body, we are moving with our voting and our decisions. This is our decision.
Yep.
We
Yes,
submit
it
to
is.
the city, and the city either accepts these things or not accept them, but let's make our own decisions. Unless there's a
Correct.
flaw in that decision. Section 4, it's about reconsideration, and we typically don't do that, but it is in our bylaws and some other bylaws as well. So a board member on either of these 2 days, make a motion to reconsider or things like that. So that's laid out already in the bylaws. I just clarified by adding a few words. Yes, Jason.
That paragraph's kind of problematic because, like, let's say we approve an MPG and I process the payment for it, and then we come back the next meeting, somebody wants to reconsider a decision, then, how is the treasurer going to get the money back, kind of thing. So it seems a little problematic, the reconsideration process. Like emergency expenditures, we already brought the stuff at Target, delivered it. So if, somebody wants to reconsider that next month, it's too late. So how does that work, Because then it would be like, if we follow our bylaws, we'd be actually out of compliance with the bylaws, right? So like if the board decided next month they want to reconsider the emergency expenditure we made, somebody's not, whatever.
So let's insert excluding funding decisions.
Yeah, I mean, or funding funds that have already been expended.
So Isam, what was the purpose of this paragraph? I guess this is not new, right? This is what.
No, it's not new.
So why do you think it was there? For what purpose?
The template, I think it's from the template of I think.
Governing bodies have this idea, and it goes in a lot of places where, a motion passes, it's controversial. Someone says, I want to put a motion for reconsideration and try to make the case against that decision. Whether the decision was yes or no, you can argue either way. But the idea is to be able to give a board member who feels strongly about something the choice to ask for a reconsideration of a decision that she or he feels is the wrong decision. So what we can do, we can simply make the reconsideration only for that meeting, not at the next regular meeting. And that way it'll remove these issues.
Yeah, like with city council, I believe reconsideration, it happens like 48 hours after. So that's the difference. You know, we don't have meetings but every month. So it's hard to wait a month to reconsider something. Reconsideration has to be done rapidly.
Lori, you want to say something?
No, I agree. I think it should just be done at that meeting. I don't think we should say allow for any reconsideration at the next meeting. I think you need to have your thoughts ready and understand it at that point in time.
Immediately following the original action and cross at the next regular meeting.
Mhm.
Or if we made an exception for the NPGs or anything that is financially, then everything else, frankly, can be reconsidered. And if there's some strong feelings about it, or maybe some certain facts weren't known at the time. I mean, we may all have voted one way or another, but something else comes, like we leave the meeting a day or 2 days later, something else comes to our attention and we say, wow, why didn't I vote it this way? So I think we should leave that option open, but to Jason's point, if it involves financial and it's money kind of getting away from us, I think we should definitely make that a wise decision then and not do any harms to, how we handle the money. I mean, if we decide it goes, it goes. But there should be a meeting decision.
So, okay, so we have two options here. Make it only at that meeting or keep it open for the following meeting, but exclude funding decisions.
I like number 2.
I could live with number 2.
Yeah, number 2 sounds good.
But the limitation on the funding decision is only for the next meeting. It could be reconsidered at that meeting.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it should include funding because funding, typically the treasurer would do it right away.
But it should include funding if someone wants to reconsider it at that meeting.
At that meeting, yeah. That's fine at the meeting.
So then I'm going to say this. Immediately following the original action or at the next regular meeting, period. I'm going to say funding decisions, reconsideration of funding decisions are limited to the meeting during which that decision was made.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would like to get some clarification on that. So let's say we have a vote on an MPG and then we go through it, it's approved, but then all of a sudden 1 or 2 or even maybe 3 members decide that they want to reconsider. How do we motion for reconsideration?
At the meeting or after the meeting is over?
At the meeting.
At the meeting. Well, it describes it here. Basically, it says, the board member basically shall make a motion for reconsideration, and if approved by a board vote, the board shall hear the matter and take action.
Okay, at the meeting, okay, fine.
So after we have a vote on a motion, before we go to the next one, a board member will say, I ask for a motion for reconsideration.
Well, let's say we voted on something before the break and then somebody's gnawing at something while they're eating a piece of pizza and they're thinking, I'm not really comfortable with the decision I just made. When we adjourn, when we go back, can we still
the same data, isn't it?
We can remove the word immediately, and that kind of leaves it open
for the meeting. I would like to at least leave it open.
Yeah.
For somebody who has that intention to be able to make that decision before the meeting ends.
I agree. Should be during the meeting, whenever time before we finish.
No pizza for you, David.
I don't see it very often, but I'm sure we've all thought, maybe I should have voted differently on that. So it's good. It's nice. It's open. You have an option.
And send you a virtual pizza.
Exactly. Would this also include election of officers too? I guess that would be part of this too, right? Technically.
You guys are starting to make me nervous here.
Yeah, me too.
We we don't want to keep going back and forth on things. You know, we make a decision, we got to move
We're
on.
good. We're good. We're good.
Let's move on. Come on.
We're good. Don't get nervous.
I'm not talking about maybe I don't give a damn. It's about I don't want to get a board stuck into a rut trying to keep
We're just
changing.
trying to think of the possibilities. Can't cover everything.
No, you can't.
I know, we'll add a footnote. If this bylaws doesn't work, it's Jason's fault.
I'll second that one.
Oh.
Okay, so just to be clear, we are removing the word immediately. We're saying shall take place following the original action or at the next regular meeting. Although frankly saying following the original action at the same meeting is what you say.
Isam, can you let Moran in? He's
He disappears too.
Okay.
Lock him out.
He was saying something about letting Mehran in.
Don't let him in.
Miran,
Yes, sir.
stop coming as an attendee. Come in as a panelist.
I don't know how to do it.
You have an email that came to you that said you are being invited to be a panelist on the PRC meeting that came to you a half hour before the meeting last time. So go to that date, you'll find that email.
May 13, about 5:45 p.m.
Yeah. Save,
Oh, okay.
save that email. That link in that email will always be your panelist access to the meetings.
I got it.
Okay. All right, so that last one is, where is everybody?
I'm here.
Well,
Yeah.
But
David had the technical problem. He was talking and his system dropped out. I don't know what happened.
okay, and Jason walked away from the computer, so in a sense, he's not at the meeting,
We still have a quorum.
okay? So the last one with, section 4, which is the one that the other two we're talking about, we're saying now that the board may reconsider and amend its action on items listed on the agenda if that reconsideration takes place following the original action at the same meeting or at the next regular meeting. Reconsideration of funding decisions can only be made at the same meeting when the decision was made.
I like it.
And then it proceeds to the other stuff. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, and that was Article 8. So
Vote.
I think this is, I'm trying to elevate him, but who's?
David sent me a message saying, tell him I say yes. Whatever it is. He's saying.
I'm having computer issues today, but yeah.
Okay, you're on.
Wheeling?
I don't know
I
why.
know.
I don't know why I cannot promote you to panelist, but you're on.
It's just issues. Let's move forward.
Okay, so that is that. So on Article 8, can you please call the vote?
Yep, let's do it. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran,
Yes.
Becky's absent, David Lasher's absent, Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes, Isam,
Yes.
and Article 8 passes.
All right. Let's move on to Article 9, Finances. We have not talked about this before. I added a paragraph on Section 1 to explain how this works. Please take a look at it and tell me if you see any glitch or any problem for Section 1.
So that's new you added? Okay.
Remember these bylaws were written before much of the existing system existed. So
Right.
we're sort of cleaning up based on how things have developed over the years. Any comment on section 1? And I will list it here. This is section 1, if you can read this. Okay, section 2, the intent is really to clarify what the treasurer does and is his or her roles. You know, Jason, look at this. And
Why does it say section 2, the end of the first sentence? It says second signer shall be the second bank card holder.
nope, that's old. That's
Oh,
what
I'm sorry. Okay, let me look on your screen.
no, it's blue, and it was from before I understood that the second signer is different than the second bank holder. So I'll take that out right now.
Yeah, you have it here on the screen.
And shall be the primary holder of the PRNC bank card, and that's it.
Okay, so can you read the last part of that sentence then, how you're going to do it? It doesn't look right. The second signer signs the BACs.
Jason, I'm removing that whole and second signer thing completely out. So all we're saying is,
Period.
route and procedures for maintaining PRNC finances and shall be the primary holder of the PRNC bank card, period.
Period. Okay.
And then the treasurer and second signer must be certified by the city clerk.
That's correct.
And roles and responsibilities. Treasurer shall have the following roles and responsibilities, and A through E.
Okay.
And then do we want to add where it says the treasurer and second signer, also the alternative signer? So
Where does it say that?
section 2, last sentence.
No, we took that out. No. The treasurer and second signer must be certified.
Because the alternative signer has to take the course as well. So I wasn't sure.
You know, again, so maybe what we should say, because this is, again, we're only defining the treasurer as an officer,
Exactly.
we're leaving the second signers are open. Maybe we should also remove the second signer here. So we'll just say the treasurer must be certified by the city clerk.
Perfect.
Clearly, the second signer and the others, you know, the city clerk, I need them to be certified. They just don't need to be set in our bylaws.
Perfect.
Okay.
So one comment, I'll let you finish. Go ahead. Are you good?
On which one?
Well, just a general comment. So they added now the second bank card holder that was added recently. We never had that before, right?
Right.
So I don't know if Freddie wants to chime in, but do we want to say, you know, the second bank card holder can be any board member, or do we want to set some kind of?
We already say that.
Where?
Because at the very beginning, when we defined the officers.
Oh, okay. We approved that already. Okay.
Yeah.
So you define the second.
No, we didn't. We didn't. We just said that anybody can be a second signer.
Second card holder.
And card holder, yes. Isn't
They're
that
two
what we
different
said?
things.
Somebody's saying something.
They're two different things.
I guess what I'm saying is, we don't define the role of someone that we're not highlighting in the bylaws unless we want to highlight them in the bylaws. So you're asking to do what? To be
Well,
clear.
my question becomes, well, what if among the board members we're trying to vote on a second bank card holder? Does it say if that can be anybody on the board, or is that?
The fact that our bylaws does not limit who can be a second holder, therefore there's no limitation. I mean, we're not actively limiting it, therefore it's open.
Okay, that's fine by me.
The only limitation we have is on occupying 2 officer positions. That's it.
Right, okay. And then the budgeting process at the start of, that's B, at the start of each fiscal year. you know, we preferably do it at the start of the fiscal year, but sometimes we run over. I don't know if we want to necessarily, that's just kind of a comment there. Maybe,
Honestly, the intent is that the treasurer will help basically shepherd that budgeting process.
right.
I mean, it's
It's
either
okay.
done at the
It's
start,
just, leave it.
sometimes it's done before that, if we're, somebody has a retreat before the end of June, or it's done later. It's either way, I'm open for suggestions.
You could just take at the start of each fiscal year out.
Lead the PRNC budgeting process.
Yeah,
How about for each fiscal year?
there you go. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Or for the next fiscal year, whatever. That's fine.
All right, other than that, anything on section 3?
It looks good.
And I just realized the section after it should be section 4, not 3 again. Okay, in terms of support, the treasurer may request authorization from the board to retain a financial professional to assist
That's fine.
in implementing treasurer's roles and responsibilities. However, the treasurer shall maintain the responsibility for the PRNC bank card and its use.
Can you scroll down?
Did we lose David? David, did we lose you?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You got to bring me in. I don't understand.
Aha, I can promote you again. Because you went back to the computer.
So just a question about the second bank card holder, because it says that, and maybe Freddie wants to chime in here, but the treasurer is responsible for the bank card usage that the treasurer does. But if you have a second bank card holder making second bank card holder.
We used the word primary bank card holder before. How about we inject it in here? Simply to say responsibility for the PRNC primary bank card.
And it's used. Yeah, that's fine. And then, yeah, if we don't need to really put anything about the second card holder, then I guess we're good.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on 9? We got, well, again, there's another section, so let me go to it. And that should be now section 5. The PRNC budget and monthly financial report shall be made publicly available and shall be posted on the PRNC website for public access. And inspections, we took that out. Treasurer's report, I mean, we bring it to the meeting, but it's really on the website, the city clerk's website. This was written from before those access. So you decide if you want to keep it or not. I don't care. Jason?
Okay, the PRNC budget and monthly financial reports are publicly available on the city clerk website, just so. I don't
They
know
are
if that's
publicly available there, and they are posted on our website.
right, but if we want to limit our, if we don't want to be responsible for that, we can point them to the city clerk's website where they are publicly available. So that might.
Honest, I mean, to me, you know, again, this is our community. These are our finances. These are our stakeholders who elected us. I think we should make the effort to make the financial reports available to them from us.
I don't know. I think it's double effort, and you're adding a lot of weight now to your website. Everything you add to your website slows it down. So I agree with Jason. I think we could actually just put the link there to the city clerk's office, and if it's already uploaded there.
You know, do you think stakeholders know how to navigate that portal on the on the city clerk's website?
If they're that adamant about trying to find our information and to come at us about it, they can find it.
It's not right to make it more difficult for stakeholders to get our finances,
It doesn't-
considering what the previous board had done.
You just put the link on our website that takes them to the city clerk's website. And so it's not difficult.
It does
because
not
we
take
do a
them,
website.
it does not take them to our MER on the city clerk's website. It takes them to the portal where they have to now select the neighborhood council,
Correct.
and look for the MER for the month that they're looking for.
It's
What's
not-
wrong with having our MERs on our website?
No, nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying that it's there already and we can put a link on our website so people can find it. It's not difficult.
I just heard that they don't do it in other neighborhood councils. Maybe Freddie could weigh in on that?
With regards to Article 9, that is up to the NC to choose how they want to put their limitations on it, whether it be on the website or a link to the city clerk's dashboard. That is a debate for the NC to determine how they would like to move forward and provide the transparency or accessibility for the public to access those documents.
Yeah. I just think, you know, you're the president and you do things the way that, you know, you do it, but then we're a board that will continue when we're gone. And so we should try and lighten the load as much as possible, because maybe other boards don't want to be putting MERs on their website. When it's on the city clerk's website already, you're doing double work. I think this streamlines things, that we should have a link where people can, and that's how they learn. They go, oh, now I'm on city clerk's website, and it's a very easy site to navigate. It's not complicated. You know, finding Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council in a drop-down bar is not difficult. You know?
So
Isam, if you want, just change the word "and shall be posted" and
no,
and can be posted. Make it can.
Let me make the suggestion. How about we say publicly available and shall be made accessible through the PRNC website.
Okay.
That basically means you can put the link on it and you'd be fine, or you can post it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah,
It shall
perfect.
be made accessible through the PRNC website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we serve the stakeholders a benefit by taking to city clerk's website so that they can go, maybe they want to look at Chatsworth, maybe they want to look at Granada. You know, there's a lot of information on there.
I think the reason I like to post it, and again, we're moving on from it, is you should always work under the assumption that government does not want to be transparent, and you want to make sure you force it to be transparent, and that's why I say that.
It's not that we're not going to be transparent though, Isam, because we are bringing them to our meetings. I mean, they're there for them to see.
Believe me, there are a lot of things that city council does, for example, that simply just makes it harder for us to get what we want to get, with the hope that we would give up and not bother try to make the effort.
Exactly.
It's about making it easy or make it harder. Governments can play a lot of games in that fashion, and I'm a little sensitive to them. That's all.
And it's already part of the minutes anyway. I mean,
Well, I'm gonna agree with Isam and Jason at the same time. Go figure. Yes, I don't believe in doing double the work, but I believe in transparency. So I think it's really, I mean, who's putting it on the website? Isam, is that you? Would you be putting them on there?
No, I only do events on the website. We
Right.
send them to Wendy, and she posts them every time.
So I know we're always looking at, I mean, what type of cost would we be looking at to expand that onto our website every month?
Nothing. We're asking them to post an MER on the MER's page, financials page. That's it.
All right.
You know, I mean, we want to cut costs on website. We can delete the website. How about that?
No,
That's a discussion we should have at the meeting.
There
But
you go.
but no, I agree with you. I like the transparency. And I don't have a problem with the double the work since somebody else will
So
be doing
again, we're saying it shall be made accessible through the PRNC website. We're good?
Yes.
It's fine.
Okay, and then any problem deleting the remaining part of that article?
No, no problem.
So,
Yeah, you can take it.
All right, so with that, can I have a vote on Article 9?
Yes, gladly. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran,
Yes.
Becky's absent, Lasher's absent, Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes, Isam,
Yes.
and Article 9 passes.
All right, Article 10, elections. Where are we? It's 7:45. I would love to finish at 8.
Finish it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Article 10. This is Article 10 with the additions and deletions. Again, administration of elections is with the city clerks. So I'd say change it to policies and procedures set forth by the Department of Labor Empowerment and the city clerk's office. And that's that. On section 4. Yes, ready.
I just want to give you a heads up that there is a draft ordinance that will be reviewed by HENPAR regarding the minimum voting age to be 16 years old. I just wanted to, I emailed to the whole board the actual draft ordinance link. That is currently just a draft. It's not in effect. I just want to let you know for heads up.
Yes.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I mean, if it happens to change, they'll change it for everybody. And if it doesn't happen to change, we stay where we are unless we want to lower it now. So
that is correct.
That's actually on the floor if anybody wants to.
I've got a question for Freddie while we're talking about that. Freddie, in regards to, let's just say a minor coming on to the board, I don't know where we're at on that, but would that be reduced to a 16-year-old as well? Since voting age would go to 16-year-old?
The current draft ordinance is changing 3 things. And again, this is still a draft ordinance. The city council could amend it and change it. But they're changing 3 things. The minimum voting age, they're changing the minimum age to serve for neighborhood councils, and they're changing the optional youth board seat to be up to 1 youth board seat. So in the first one, minimum age to vote, they are saying that for that a neighborhood council election or selection occurs, a person must be at least 16 years of age to be eligible to vote, meaning to vote for the board for the neighborhood council. The second
Freddie, the one you send us says 12 years old.
No.
Page 14, section 3.
No. I'm talking about the one that shows no. It says ordinance number. It's in the. Okay.
I'm looking section 10, section 3. You know, Article 10, elections, section 3.
Yes. No, you're looking at the February one, the template.
April 29.
The one that says February 2014.
Let me see.
Because it should be a hyperlink in the first email I sent at 6:45 p.m. It should say in the email I sent also for minimum voting age and optional youth seat. Here is a draft ordinance that will be reviewed by the HENPAR committee before being considered by the city council. And then I gave the hyperlink.
Oh, I'm looking at the attachment. It says 12 years old.
So the youth probably.
You're looking at a template, but this is the draft ordinance that is being considered.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not implemented currently.
Okay, go ahead.
But that ordinance right now is also changing. The second part is minimum age to serve, which is saying that a neighborhood council election or selection for a board seat occurs. A person must be at least 18 years of age to be eligible to serve as a board member for a neighborhood council. And then they offer the third change, which is an optional youth board seat. A neighborhood council board may create up to one youth board seat to be occupied by a minor, subject to the following restrictions. 1, a youth board seat shall be occupied by a person who is at least 14 years of age and no more than 17 years of age on the day that the neighborhood council election or selection of the youth board seat occurs. Number 2, a person must be at least 14 years of age on that day that the neighborhood council election or selection for that youth board seat occurs to be eligible to vote for a youth board seat candidate. Retroactively, the section shall not be applied retroactively. So currently under your bylaws, you just have all at-large seats. There is no youth seat. So you don't need to create a youth seat if you want to. But if you do, that would be considered a board structure change, which would require the BONC or the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners to review that board structure change.
For the purpose of today's discussion, we don't have a youth seat, and if we're gonna do that, it's a whole different bylaws approval process. So let's please move on if we can. Do you want to change the stakeholder age 18 and above in terms of minimum voting age? Anybody wants to have that discussion?
Can we change, if we change it to 16, are we able to keep it at 16 if the city keeps it at 18? Is it up to us to
So
choose?
Gabriel has a very good point because it's a draft. So I think we should just not move forward on that and wait till the city finalizes their draft.
Again, forget what the city's deciding to do. This is our decision. What do we want? We put it in. If the city changes the rules later, they'll change them later.
Keep it at 18. Keep it at 18.
I
Leave
agree.
it, yeah, leave it the way it is.
All right, just
Leave
let me
it.
open the floor for them.
Yes.
Okay, other items on here. Method of verifying stakeholder status. Voters will be by providing any documentation required by the city to confirm stakeholder status. This is important, I think, to think about it a little bit. Right now, the city does its verification through documents and whatever is required, but we don't do that in our voting for filling vacancies. And it's important that we have a verification process under both conditions.
100% agree.
Exactly.
So PRNC will do the verification based on the city's guideline.
Right, let me take you back to the discussion of how to fill an empty board seat. Trying to remember, where was that? That's, Article 5 at the top of page 6, stakeholder files and application for the process.
Because currently, if it's an actual election, the city verifies it. But if we're
Exactly.
filling a seat internally, then nobody's verifying the address.
I'm trying to remember where we have it, because I know we put it in a place that says that the board shall, each board member shall provide the treasurer with annual verification of qualification, but I just don't remember where it was. Let me find out.
Right here, section 4, second paragraph. Did you hear me? Section 4, second paragraph.
Section 4 is one paragraph. What are we talking about?
You were asking where the verification process is for board members, right?
Section 4, which
You mean Article 4?
Article 4, sorry, second paragraph.
there you go. under stakeholders. Got it.
Good find.
In that second paragraph, it talks about that verification.
So we're going to be verifying people voting. We're going to be verifying board members applying.
Applying.
No. Voters will provide, verify stakeholder status for, oh, I see.
Because we should be able to.
We don't say that here. Here, we're not saying we're verifying stakeholder.
This is for
Voters,
the
right?
candidates.
We are saying voters will provide verify stakeholder status for the PRNC election by providing any documentation required by the city to confirm stakeholder status. That's all.
Then what is our role in that? Is the city handling it, or are we getting that information? Is that information coming to us?
It does not come to us. The city validates whether a person is eligible to vote as a stakeholder or not.
It's the same way when we did it. I mean, we had to show proof of residence and all that.
No, the problem is that was on our actual election. I believe this is for a special election to where the board is voting on.
Oh, I apologize. If the board is voting, then there's no stakeholder verification. I mixed things up. Let me take it back. The only thing that we verify for a midterm election that we do is in Article 4. It is not here. This is about stakeholders. We don't have that. The city verifies stakeholder voters qualifications to vote. And when we elect to fill a vacant seat, stakeholders don't have anything to do with it. So it's not relevant under this paragraph. That was my mix-up. So for this here, method of verifying stakeholders, we're just saying that the city verifies it through documentation. And voters must submit required documentation in accordance with the city election procedures applicable at the time. And that's it. And then the next one, restriction on candidates running for multiple seats. My recollection was that this was a required section, and
Can we just
so
remove it?
title is there, but it says none. And the reason I deleted what was in there because it sort of redefines who a stakeholder is,
Yeah.
but it's already defined before.
Mm-hmm.
And so no restrictions on candidates running for multiple seats. Is there any problem with that?
Does that mean multiple seats, meaning like at large versus, is that what it's, what does the multiple seats mean? I don't understand that part.
I think because many other neighborhood councils have a defined
Oh, yeah.
for each
So-
seat, you may run for multiple ones. You know, you may be
Can't run for youth and at large. That's-
right, or a business owner and you know, a homeowner.
That is correct.
And so this says basically we don't have those restrictions, but it you know, it does mean that, you know, if you want to run for the at-large positions, you can.
What do you suggest, Freddie? Should we just put none there, or?
From what I see your bylaws, that you're all at large, so the multiple seats doesn't apply. So you could say none or intentionally left blank.
Not applicable?
Yeah, you can put it however you want, but as long as you indicate that section 5 restrictions on candidate running for multiple seats, that section has to be there according to the table of contents policy.
Perfect. The way it is, we're good then.
All right.
Is that, Freddie, just a quick question. Is that the one regards at large and open at large? Is that
So
is that the issue?
your bylaws just only have just at large.
No, we have one open at large.
One open.
You'll see it in the attachment at the end. And there's an edit to that attachment also, Asad, that we will discuss.
Maybe we just make them all at large.
No, no. But I tell you what, the city will not let you run for both, just so that you know. It's either you pick if you qualify for the open at large or you qualify for the at large. So you can go in for one. You
I
cannot, yeah.
can't qualify for both. It's impossible.
No, because this is what happened with me, not to drag you into too much discussion. By mistake, I applied for the open at large. And when I called them, I said, oops, I clicked the wrong one. They told me you have to wait one election period, then you come back to the at large. And that's why I ended on the ballot as the open, not the at large. So the city does not allow you to be on, which is, it's good. This way you cannot run multiple seats.
Yeah.
I think the way everything is fine.
I think so.
Yeah, just.
Section 6 also is a table of content requirement, other election-related language, and we say none.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So with that, if we're good, can I have a vote on Article 10?
Yes. Brandy, absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran. Is he here?
No, he's not. Let me
Okay.
see if he just stepped to the.
Absent
No,
again.
either.
All right. Becky's absent. David Lasher is absent. Lori.
Yes.
Perfect. Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes.
and Article 10 passes.
All right, let's try to move on if we can. Article 11 is the grievance process. If you look at it, one, I didn't change anything in one. Two, says must be submitted in writing to the PRNC board secretary. Secretary shall then refer the matter to an ad hoc grievance panel comprising 3 board members, randomly and anonymously selected by the secretary. And I added the word anonymously because we don't want one person to influence that outcome. So you'll draw anonymously from a hat and pick 3 board members. Selected by the secretary, and that's it. And then on this section after it, just says eligible to vote, including abstentions. That's it.
This
Perfect.
Yes, Jason.
this grievance hearing, or it says a panel to meet. Is that like a public meeting? Is that a Brown Act meet? It's ad hoc, so it wouldn't be under Brown Act, but
It would not be a Brown Act.
so they can meet anytime they want, no notice of.
That is correct, and it would include again 3 board members, randomly and anonymously selected.
Okay, got it.
But again, at the end of the day, it's got to come to the board for a vote. But we need to have someone take a look at it, and the grievances. The idea is to randomly select 3 board members.
Yes. And if you're doing ad hoc committees, make sure that if it's not going to be Brown Act, that there are no stakeholders. Because if there's a stakeholder that is in an ad hoc committee, that ad hoc committee would have to be subject to the Brown Act.
Right, and so that's why it just says 3 board members.
Perfect.
And we want 3 because then you can have
Quorum problem, yeah.
people vote. You need 2 affirmatives to move it to the full board.
Well, no, we want 3, not, oh, you mean as a why not more? Or not less?
Well, because you could say up to 3. Yeah, why not less? Maybe you only have 2 people, for example.
Again, I guess we're trying to make it so that,
I know, it's better if you have 3, I agree.
Yeah, it should take me a little effort to bring a grievance to bear at the board vote. So I think it's good to have it this way, but I think we needed to do it anonymously because otherwise, the secretary can have a stake in that decision, and we don't want that. Okay, so if we're good with this, can I have a vote on Article 11?
Yes. Brandy is absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran, absent again. Becky is absent. David Lasher is absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes.
and Article 11 passes.
Let's keep going if we can.
Let's do it.
Stretch.
Article 12 simply said changes, it says, in accordance with the Brown Act and applicable local, state, and federal law. And I don't know why it had neighborhood council there, but these bylaws. It should say, and these bylaws, these PRNC bylaws.
And, yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, something is wrong with that, yeah. Any problem with that? All right, let's vote on Article 12.
Article 12 it is. All right, Brandy's absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
and Miran is absent again. Becky is absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yeah.
Perfect. Article 12 passed.
Article 13 is really wording. There's, let's see, submitted, if the Rules and Bylaws Committee is inactive, the request shall be submitted to the board president. I would say secretary, or what was there says secretary or person responsible for preparing the agenda for the next regular meeting. So that's, by the way it's defined in our bylaws, that's a redundant statement. And change the, instead of city department, just the city, because it could be city or city clerk or done or either way. Any discussion? All right, call the vote on Article 13.
All right, Brandy's absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran, absent. Becky's absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes,
and Article 13 passes.
thank you. Article 14, compliance. This is about the codes. Changed, deleted. Here, let me go to it since we have it on the screen. It's about, saying abide by the city's neighborhood council code of conduct policy as opposed to a commission or whatever it was. And at Glenn Bailey's recommendation from last time, not treasurer training, but funding training.
Right.
And change the 90 to 30 days of assuming office.
But the funding, the problem with that is the funding classes, a lot of times, I know in experience, it took a little time for Lori and David and I to get our classes done because they're only held once a month, I think, and sometimes they're downtown, sometimes, I think 30 days. Why are you doing 30 days?
You're mixing two different requirements.
Am I? Okay.
The board members, general board members. So this is the online funding
Oh,
training.
the online stuff. Okay.
It's for you guys because you were card holders and
Okay.
signers. You have to do the treasurer training, but that's why we removed the treasurer training.
As long as it's not the class.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and that would be the end of Article
14.
14.
13.
Without objection, can we have a vote on Article 14?
Perfect. Brandy's absent. Hassan,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Miran, still absent. Becky's absent. David Lasher, absent. Lori,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam,
Yes.
and Article 14 passes.
If you don't mind, let's go to attachment B, which is the definition of our positions. And there's an edit that is important to
Can you scroll down?
highlight.
Thank you.
Okay, so the open at large, nothing has changed in there. And the definition of that is someone who has a, what do they call it? Declare a stake in the neighborhood as a community interest stakeholder. And that is eligible to run for that position. And any stakeholder can vote for that seat, vote here. Okay, so anyone who can declare that stake can run for it, and any stakeholder can vote for whoever for that seat. And I'm highlighting this because a stakeholder can be whether they're resident or someone who lives here or works here, but also someone who claims a stake in the community. For the at-large representatives, the proposal that's in front of you, nothing changes on the eligibility to run. It's the same definition. That's someone who lives, works, or owns property in the neighborhood, who's 18 years or older. That's the one who qualifies to run. The question is who qualifies to vote for that seat? What stakeholder? And the idea is to also state that stakeholders who are voting for the at-large positions should be also at-large stakeholders in that sense, for whatever that means. And so the idea is for a stakeholder who live, work, or own real property in the neighborhood are the ones who are eligible to vote for whoever's running for those positions. The only stakeholders who are from outside that definition, they can vote for the at-large representation of their interests as a declaration of a stake in the neighborhood. That's what's on the table. Jason, go ahead.
I just don't like the word neighborhood. It's too ambiguous. I think that we should be saying within the PRNC boundaries. We should refer.
I was going to bring the same thing up, actually.
Well, I mean, the whole system is defined around the word neighborhood. It's in the title of everything, but we can change it. That's fine.
Well, we have a map and everything. I think it's more precise, you know, less ambiguous is better.
Fine.
Maybe Isam, what you do is you add, it's like it says in the neighborhood as described in the map.
No, I mean, we can say or own property.
This way you don't change the neighborhood, you know, so that because, you know, the word neighborhood is there. So just add to it the neighborhood as described in the map. And this way you satisfy everybody.
Or a neighborhood boundary.
Yeah, it's PRNC boundaries, I think is.
Neighborhood defined in the PRNC boundaries.
Can I ask a question? There's a much bigger issue on what we're adding. If we can clear that, and then we'll change the word of the neighborhood. That's fine. But
go ahead.
This definition of stakeholder, this is a big deal. So let's think through that a little bit. The idea here is to preserve, if we have seats representing, filled by people who live or work in the community or own property in the community, they should be voted for by the people who are in the same, who have the same interests. Unless city rules preclude us from restricting that, and I'll ask Freddie that question.
You mean within our geographic boundaries, basically?
Yeah, but the definition of a stakeholder goes beyond our boundaries.
Exactly. Put the neighborhood or whatever that on the side and focus on the stakeholder. That's what he's trying to tell you, Jason.
Yeah, I got it.
Freddie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So, is there any problem or fatal flaw in adding what we're adding for eligibility to vote for the at-large seats?
So, okay, one second. I'm trying to bring up an email that I remember seeing from the city clerk that addressed a similar question. Not city clerk, from the city attorney's office. That addressed the definition of stakeholder.
Well, we're not changing the definition of stakeholder.
You're trying to change the definition of who is eligible to vote?
No, we're saying we have two types of seats. We have one open at large and 10 at large. We're saying any stakeholder, per the general definition, any stakeholder can vote for the open at large seat. For the at large seats, we are saying the stakeholders that live, work, or own real property within the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council boundaries are eligible to vote for those at-large seats.
That would, yes, you're just adding the word boundaries after neighborhood, correct?
We're changing the word neighborhood word to, I mean, I'm gonna propose that we change it within the PRNC boundaries to be absolute. But the point here is we are excluding stakeholders who are stakeholder of the PRNC by the other definition, the ones that declare stake. We're saying
a community interest.
we're excluding them from voting for the at-large positions.
Yes, yeah, that is true. And for that specific aspect, I'm gonna have to defer to city attorney. I would say go ahead and make those changes, but I'm gonna have to consult the city attorney as to whether that can or cannot be done. But because you do have an open at-large seat that is eligible for voting for anyone that who not only lives, works, or owns real property, but also has an interest in the community, they're also eligible to vote. Yeah. Then I think what you're trying to do right now would pass muster. As to whether I can definitively say, will it be approved or not? I don't know.
That's fine. Obviously, all of this is up for the approval review process. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if there's already a known fatal flaw. That's all. If there isn't, we're good.
There is none that I know of from the bylaws I reviewed. Yeah.
So let's go back to the board. Board members, any thoughts on this? Do you have any heartburn over it? Do you want it? Do you not want it? What do you want? Jason.
I agree with the idea, because I think that people who, are neighbors, they take pride in the community, and those are the people who should be voting. I support the idea.
Okay.
And a stakeholder has to be works, right? We can't eliminate works. Can we just do lives or owns real property in neighborhood? Or it has to be works as well for that at-large representative?
Well, right now the definition of the at-large is open for the one that works. So if you want to remove it from the stakeholder, I guess you'd need to remove it from the eligibility to serve too, right?
Right. I don't know if anybody is open to the idea or not, but that's a suggestion I want to make.
It's a good suggestion. I mean, there is a pros and cons.
Yeah, there is both sides to it. That's why I'm open for discussion on that, definitely.
In response to what Gabriel's saying, you could, like me being in real estate, I could say that I work everywhere, and so there is, David in his business too, he's driving all over. He's doing business in every city. So he could, so
Every
there's
state.
potential for abuse,
Mm-hmm.
We've already had that issue previously with our church members.
Yes,
So-
ma'am.
I would welcome removing the word work and leave it just with the open at large.
From both sides?
No, leave it at the open at large, the one position, but leave it from, from both sides.
Remove it from eligibility to run and eligibility to vote for the at-large.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Is everybody?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Any objection to that?
No, that sounds good.
I think it's good.
All
I
right.
think.
Yep, let's go for it.
You're the man, Gabriel.
I like it.
Okay. We'll go in that direction.
We're
So,
trying to keep the integrity of this city, and everybody who lives here, we're giving them more priority or more privilege because they
so
live.
we're changing the eligibility to run. We're changing it to stakeholders who live or own property
Mhm.
within the PRNC boundaries who are 18 years or older. On the right, we're saying stakeholders who live or own real property within the PRNC boundaries and are 18 years or older.
Excellent. I like it.
Perfect. Go
Everything
for
else
it.
stays the same, okay?
Okay.
Then we were going to do something here that we brought in from the earlier section. What was it? We said we're going to do it in the attachment. We're going to clarify something in the
Oh.
attachment.
Right, that there is 5
Staggered.
seats on one round and there is 6 seats on the other round.
Yeah.
That it's not all 11 up for election at the same time. So a footnote or a,
You're gonna delineate which seats are coming up.
so just basically, I mean, clarification that 5 seats are up in one term and the other 6 are in the other term, as specified by the city clerk.
Okay, I'll need to think through a sentence here that would work. Again, because we don't have numbers for them or we don't have names for them, we have to talk about that.
Why don't we just approve what we have here, and then you can work with Freddie and figure out.
Okay.
Let's just
Alright.
approve this.
So we've made all these changes. We voted on them. We're going to have one motion to approve all the changes made and agreed to in all the articles, with the addition that you would allow me to work with Freddie on a clarification statement to explain the alternating election of 5 members and 6 members in each election cycle.
Sounds good with me.
Second.
Jason, you want to say
Okay.
something?
Oh, I thought we were gonna vote on attachment B, but we're just gonna vote on everything. That's fine.
Everything including attachment B.
Okay.
All right, so do you have that motion from me, Francis? I can't hear you, Francis.
Unmute yourself.
So Isam made the motion.
Yes,
Go ahead. You have it from me?
I believe I do. Yes, yes, yes.
Can you
I
read-
second the motion.
Just a second.
Thank you, Sam.
I seconded earlier though, as I.
Just a second. Can you read it to us, Francis, so we're all clear?
Yes. Okay, I'm off mute. Ratify all.
You're unmuted.
Yes.
Can you read the motion to us?
Oh, of course. Ratify all bylaws 1 through 14 plus attachment B, including words that Isam and Freddie may work on just to polish attachment B. And everything else has already been unanimous.
All right. So Jason, go ahead.
Oh, Freddie, are we gonna need to do a BAC for this?
There is an actual form that has to be also submitted to the department along with the BAC.
Are you gonna take care of that, Isam? I'm just trying to figure out the if I need to be writing this motion down and doing a BAC.
No, let me suggest that, let me restate the motion just so that we're all clear, if you don't mind. That I move to approve all the changes discussed and voted on for Articles 1 through 14 of the PRNC bylaws and Attachment B, and to approve the board president, authorize the board president to clarify with Dunn the statement to be added to attachment B regarding the alternating 5-6 board member voting cycle.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jason, she has it for you now.
I just don't think you need that second part, but anyways, if you want to make it long, and I was trying to write it down. Because you're already authorized. You're the bylaws chair.
No, it's, I can't change the bylaws without board vote.
Let's vote on it. Let's get going.
We'll do it. All right, it's calling the vote. Brandy, absent. Hassan?
Yes.
David Balin?
Unmute, Dave.
Yes, 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 yes.
Perfect. Jason?
Yes.
Miran, still absent. Becky's absent. David Lasher is absent. Lori?
Yes.
Assad?
Yes.
Gabriel, yes. Isam?
Yes.
And motion passes.
My God.
Woo!
Did it.
Okay, now it
All
is.
right.
Francis, can you send me the language on that so I can do the BAC?
You bet. I'm putting it into an email right now.
Oh, thank you so much.
Honestly, it's unfortunate that only 7 of us are here to make these changes, but
It is what it is.
But we got a lot of input.
Well, we discussed it for over 12 working hours, I think.
I know, but you know, this is a big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah, good
Okay.
job, guys.
I will make all these edits that we talked about, and I will keep it in this edited format of the blue and red, and also create a clean version of it. And I will send both of them out to be included in the minutes out of this meeting. So let's make sure we, again, for the sake of transparency, we got to post these as an item of these minutes. Then I will work on the form that needs to be submitted with it, and hopefully the form does not require another meeting. Freddie, anything you know that we would limit our ability to submit this without a meeting?
I'm looking at the form right now. It's the things that must be a scanned copy of the amendment application. Okay, in a Word, okay, electronic copy in a Word document of the proposed neighborhood council bylaw sections.
Yep.
Submit only the sections with the proposed changes and not the entire bylaws unless there are major changes throughout the bylaws. The document should clearly show the proposed amended language by striking out the original language and underlining the proposed language, preferably through the track changes tools in Microsoft Word. The form has to be, you know, the neighborhood council name. Okay, the date of the board action, the board vote of how many yeses, nos, and abstentions, the signature of the chair or president, and the second signatory signature with their name, email, and phone number.
Okay.
And you're not doing any board structure changes, so I don't think the latter part is necessary, but at least complete that part saying not applicable.
Okay.
I'll email you the application so that at the very least you have that again, just in case if it's lost in the emails.
All right.
So should I prepare the BAC? I'm sorry.
I'm looking again.
Vote. We got to have the BAC for it.
It's good just to attach it if you need to, but I'm skimming through this application right now.
Yeah, but again, it needs to go in the minutes. So
Yeah, to be on the safe side, do it, Jason.
Exactly.
Okay.
all right. So with that, I sort of left it as if there's any general update from individual board members. Anybody wants to say something before we adjourn?
Good night.
We're
All
tired.
All right. So without objection, meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
Sounds
everybody.
good.
Thank you. Great
everyone.
job, everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Freddie.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you, everyone.
Francis, Isan, Gabriel, Lori,
Happy
Jason.
Memorial Day weekend, everybody.
You too.
Happy, it's really not.